Mm. All right, Shalom. I want to start by giving our praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and also to their elders, the men that taught them. I pray the Lord have peace, blessings, and mercy upon the households of the hopefully elect. This is the brother Shema Wands from the Great Millstone Houston Church. And real quick, I want to come with a lesson going into Second Esdras, the 13th chapter, verses 1 through 11. After seeing IUIC's theatrics with this video, showing their power, you know. But according to Second Esdras, the 13th chapter, the overthrow is gonna come from Yahweh Shai and the holy angels. Okay. So with that being said, let's get into it, and I pray this lesson be edifying to the Lord's elect. I'm gonna play the video first. Let me see if I remember how to do this.
Just stand by and wait for the Father's orders.
Woe is me. Who will deliver me in those days? Famine, plague, tribulation, and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. They shall not escape. The burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you.
My son, it's time.
Now, Shamir, fire!
Yes, sir.
The graphics are long, but it's extra as hell. This is not necessary. Like, that's not the word at all.
Thou shalt not kill.
Fire!
Thou shalt not kill. Return back to the dust.
Target engaged. Cannon free. Missiles away!
Thunder. Strike them. What the? Shalt not kill.
Permission. Michael, Gabriel, gather the host. We take the field now.
You got superpowers. If you got special powers, you don't need blasters. You need a new body. That's what takes you and glasses. I mean, that's enough. I'll put the link, Lord willing, in the comment section whenever the video uploads, Lord willing. But you know, it's funny. The apostles had a video. Somebody made it of with the AI stuff, right? And the video was eating the flesh and drinking the blood, right, through the spirit. That's what is done over here at Great Millstone. Not the theatrics, like these are the men coming to save the day for the nation of Israel. But let me do this. Let me pull up Second Esdras 13 and we'll get into it. So hold on. It looked cool, but extra. So let's get into it. Let's get into the scriptures. Second Esdras chapter 13 and verse 1. It says, and it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And behold, and I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him. So how it says there arose the wind from the sea in verse 2, and it moved all the waves thereof. Verse 3, and I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were under him. This is going into Yahushua return. You know, it's not literally from the ocean waters. Yahushua is coming from the heavens, the sky, right? How the scriptures mention waters above and waters below. So Yahushua's return to the earth with the angels. Real quick. This is Psalms chapter 68 and verse 17. It says, I'm gonna just pull precepts on my phone. It says Psalms 86 and 17, the chariots of the Most High are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them, as in Sinai, in the holy place. So when it mentions that man waxed strong with thousands of heaven, it's talking about Yahushua coming with the angels. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. Revelation 1 and 7. Behold, he cometh with the clouds. Okay, going into the chariots. It says, and we'll get a precept on that. And every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so, amen. So upon Yahushua's return, many people are going to be afraid. It's not going to be, you know, a day of joy and peace for everybody on the earth. It's gonna be a very frightening and terrible day when Yahushua cracks the clouds with the angels. That's why I said all kindreds of the earth shall wail, just like it said in Second Esdras 13 and 3. It said when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him. All right, showing you Yahushua is coming from above. But real quick, Psalms 104 and verse 3, a precept for the chariots or the clouds, right? It said he was coming with clouds. Psalms 104 and verse 3, it says, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariots, who walketh upon the wings of the wind. So when you see in the scriptures clouds and chariots, it's synonymous for each other, you know, according to context. Sometimes it could be a literal cloud or literal chariots, horses and chariots, but these chariots are talking about the heavenly vehicles, you know, like it tells you in Habakkuk, the chariots of salvation. Um, Let me get another precept. This is Amos chapter 5 and 18. Upon the day of the Lord's return. Well, I'll hold off. Let's keep reading. Second Esdras 13 and 4. It says, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, as the earth faileth when it filleth the fire. And it showed a clip, you know, literal clip of mouth of fire coming out of the mouth of who was supposed to be Yahweh, I'm assuming. but you know, the correct understanding of it, that's going to be done by the vehicles of the heavens, the heavenly host, the chariots, right? Real quick, this is Numbers chapter 11 and 1, how it says, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, they all burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it filleth the fire. So fire is not literally going to come out of Yahweh Shai's mouth. They're going to come out of the chariots. You know, just like Esau has his weapons of war, his aerial, uh, you know, the sea, all types of, war equipment, so to speak, with the capabilities of shooting missiles, lasers and some amazing things, right? People don't think that the Lord has that type of technology or ability, you know. But this is Numbers 11 and 1 because this happened amongst the Israelites. Numbers 11 and 1, it says, and when the people complained, it displeased the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah. And the Lord heard it, and his anger was kindled, and the fire of the Lord burned among them, and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp. So showing you the Lord is able to perform these things. All right, having fire come from chariots, or have fire literally come from the heavens, like what he did unto Sodom and Gomorrah in the surrounding cities. But in this case, the Lord devoured the outermost parts of the camp by way of fire through the chariots. Second Esdras 13 and 4 again. It says, and whenever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it filleth the fire. And two, just thinking about it, a lot of people don't understand how terrible of a day is gonna be whenever Yahweh Shah comes back, man. It's gonna be a very violent return. Let me read this. This is Amos chapter 5 and 18. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light. It's not going to be, a pleasant, soft, humble and quiet return. The Lord is finna come back with vengeance. Like it says, the slain of the Lord shall be many. That's upon his return. Verse 5, it says, and after this I beheld, and lo, wait, hold on 1 second. Let me read this before I go to verse 5. Joel chapter 2, and I'll start at 1. It says, blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh. For it is nigh at hand, a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, as the morning spread, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. It says, a great people and a strong, there had not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. And while Yahweh Shah, makes his return to the earth, World War III is going to be taking place, where it talks about how it said, a great people and a strong, there has there hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. That's talking about the fire that's going to come from the missiles also. It's talking about World War III taking off. The nuclear missiles will be fired off. Talking about a great people and a strong. That's referring to the missiles, not literal people in this sense. But verse 3, it says, a fire devoureth before them from the nuclear destruction, and behind them um a flame burneth. How it, how the missiles propel and shit. It says the the land is as the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness, yea, and nothing shall escape them. So before, like right now, how beautiful the earth looks, you know, whenever these missiles hit, it's gonna lay this shit waste. The whole earth will not be devoured, but wherever they land, well, wherever those missiles hit, is gonna tear many things up. And America will be utterly destroyed. Anything in America that's here, present when the missiles hit, you're gonna be completely destroyed. No matter how deep you go into the earth or in the sea, or wherever you try to find shelter in a hiding place in America, you're gonna be caught up in destruction. There's no such thing as any survivors left, according to prophecy, when America gets hit by the missiles. But Second Esdras 13:5, it says, "And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea." So now this is going back to, literal men. The Lord is going to gather the nations to fight against him, right? Let's go to Joel, the third chapter. Joel 3:1. It says, "For behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem." So many things are going to be taking place when Yahushua returns. Well, not many things, but upon Yahushua's return, two, he's coming back to gather his elect, to save his elect. That's what being saved is, okay? From the destruction that's coming, from the impending danger or destruction that's prophesied to come. So an election is going to be saved. On the second hand, the Lord is coming back to destroy. Like the scriptures say, don't think I came to make peace. The Lord came to bring a sword, like the scriptures say. So upon the end of our captivity, right? No more being oppressed. That's done when Yahweh comes back. That's why we look, to him to save us. There's nothing that we could do to get out of this situation. As if the Lord is gonna give us, a new body here on the earth before we, Lord willing, get beamed up. That's not gonna happen. Yahweh is coming to save and turn our captivity. All of that is taking place through Yahweh. Like it says in Deuteronomy, we shall not be a man shall not save us. Right? Then also it tells you in Isaiah, the Lord is not gonna come back as a man. He shall not meet thee as a man. Yahweh is gonna be glorified in his new body. Like it tells you, he's coming back with power and great glory. That's how this return is going to be. And in that time, when I shall bring again the captive in Jerusalem, the people who need to be saved that's on the earth, Joel 3:2, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And that word plead goes into judge. If you look it up in the Hebrew, that word will be shapat, which means judge. Okay. So verse 2 again, and I also will gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. Going back to 2nd Esdras 13:5, it says, "And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea." So the Lord is gathering these nations, right? They're going to be warned against each other, but the time is going to come where they're going to stop and actually try to fight Yahweh and the angels to subdue the man that came out of the sea. It says, "But I beheld, and lo," wait, hold on, let me go back to Joel. Joel 3:2 again. It says, "I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat," the Middle East, where you're going to see, according to prophecy, nations are going to start gathering there. All right. For all the doubters who think, World War III is far fetched, wait until you see these troops start gathering into the valley of Jehoshaphat. It says, "And I will plead judge with them there for my people." So for the Israelites' sake, you know, it says, how does it? Hold on. I'm thinking of a scripture. It's Isaiah. For the sake of the Israelites. So the other nations won't have the protection that Yahweh Shah gives for the Israelites, the elect of the nation of Israel. Well, let me see if I can find this real quick. Isaiah 34 and verse 8. It says, "For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion." So you see, the Lord is doing this for the sake of the Israelites. All the things that have been happening unto us, hey, the Lord is coming back to give these nations a recompense, payback. So going back into it, Joel 3 and 2, and I will plead with them, and I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations. See, so the Israelites are scattered amongst the nations. That's why we can look like all the other nations. Don't get it twisted. The when it talks about Gentiles or heathen in context when it comes to being saved or delivered, that's because you'll have Israelites among them who the Lord is coming back to save, and they might look like those actual nations, you know. So it says, "Whom they have scattered among the nations and part of my land." Joel 3 and 9. Let me jump down. It says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles," the actual Gentiles, the nations, right? The heathen. It says, "Prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near, let them come up." Verse 10, "Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears," because it's a time for war. It tells you that in Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter. There's a time and chance for everything. Or how does it say? Hold up. A time and purpose. Let me read it real quick. Because war is coming. It's inevitable. And it's at the doors, man. This is um Ecclesiastes chapter 3. In verse 1, it says, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven." Let's jump down. Where is it? Verse 8, "A time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace." And right now, it's a time of war. All right, gathering these nations. What you think to have a patty cake party? No, judgment is attached. Whenever you see these nations gathered, judgment is coming, bro. It says, verse 10, "Beat your plowshares into swords." The farming tools, nope. Time to get active. "And your pruning hooks into spears," because it's wartime. Let the weak say, "I am strong." In these other nations, now they have the capacity and the capability to actually have a chance to fight against America. America ain't the biggest, baddest, on the block no more. These other nations got missiles. These other nations got strong alliances, with uh enemy nations against Babylon, America, you know. So now you're seeing a change of spirit amongst these nations. "Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord." So whenever they're gathered together, right? It says, "Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord," which is Yahweh Shah and the angels who are coming back, to save, right? For the elects, they're going to be on the elect side. Second Esdras 13 and verse 6. It says, "But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. But I would have seen the region or place where out the hill was graven, and I could not." Yahweh Shah is coming on a chariot that you won't be able to see the end of it, where it starts or where it finishes. It's gonna take up and cover the earth, you know, and he's gonna be upon it, how it said. And he flew upon it. Isaiah 19 and 1. "The burden of Egypt. Behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, And spiritual Egypt, which is America. The Lord is coming back to destroy this place. And he's going to be upon a swift cloud, which is a swift chariot. It tells you in Revelations, the 19th chapter, he's coming back in this fashion. It says, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, in the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Let's keep reading. 2nd Esdras 13:8. It says, and after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. When Yahushua comes back, people's hearts are going to fail them. It's not going to be anything, people, the majority of this world expects, although, the Lord sends his prophets out, you know, to break down and reveal the mysteries, you know, but a lot of people doubt and they think that we're crazy and these things are never going to happen. Keep that energy, because when Yahushua comes back, niggas are going to find out the hard way. You still got Jake trying to join the freaking military and stuff, not knowing that, hey, you could possibly be fighting against your creator. Verse 8 again. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they that were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. So Lord is going to make them come at him. And lo, he as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, because it's going to be a complete overthrow. How can something mortal, overthrow something that's immortal? That makes no sense. The violence of the multitude, all of their weapons, and however it's going to be, it's not going to move Yahweh or the holy angels at all. Hold up. Let me get a precept. Revelation chapter 12 and 7. It says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his angels. So it's going to be war in heaven, meaning in our atmosphere, or in the sky, in the heavens. It's not actually how people think. There's war going on, where the Most High is, where Yahweh is right now. Like, nah, it's going to be seen. Wherein Esau and his military is going to fight against Yahweh's military. Yahweh Bashim Yahweh's military being led by Michael the archangel. It tells you in Daniel the 12th chapter, times are going to be so bad on earth. Michael the archangel is going to come back to intervene. So, yeah, and the dragon fought and his angels. Esau's whatever the hell Esau uses for his military might, all of his weapons, technology, is going to be a war in heaven. But guess what? Verse 8, and prevailed not. Esau is going down. Neither was there place any found anymore in heaven, meaning this man is going to get taken out of rulership. Esau is the end. Jacob is the beginning, like it tells us in 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter. Okay. So after this takes place, guess who the kingdom is going to be given unto? Or it says the saints shall take the kingdom. The kingdom is being taken right here at this moment. And there was, how did it say? Neither was their place found any more in heaven. Esau, you're done. You're completely done away with as far as having any type of authority on the earth. Verse 30, I mean, let me get a precept. Hold up. Let me go back to the scriptures. This is 2nd Esdras, chapter 13 and 10. It says, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests going into the chariots. The chariots are capable of doing these things. Verse 11, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, in the great tempest, and fell with violence, upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Imagine that. A multitude of people so big you can't even count. But that quick in an instance, just done, obliterated that ass, man. People think Yahweh Shah is to be played with. And this is the thing. This is attached to Yahweh Shah. If you still believe on Jesus, you're gonna have to find out the hard way. You know, it's a spirit, it's a doctrine attached to these false gods and these damn, wicked ass names. Jesus Christ. You know, the IUIC making videos like that, but they still use the name Christ and Jesus. That's crazy. These actions are attached to Yahweh Shah. So Yahweh Shah is going to issue out fire from his chariot, the angels, the heavenly angels too, and in the innumerable multitude is going to be nothing. Like I said, but only dust and smell of smoke. Isaiah chapter 34, in verse 4. It says, "For the indignation of the Lord Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter." And that's exactly what's going to take place. Making war against Yahweh Shah and the heavenly hosts is not a wise thing to do. But guess what? They have to do it. They were afraid, but yet durst fight, like we read. Let me get this. Revelation 17 and 14. "These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful." So, anybody coming against Yahweh Shah stands no chance. Prophecy has it, Yahweh Shah is coming back with an overthrow to subdue all nations, right, and to gather his elect. So, IUIC, they got the theatrics going on in the video that I saw. Let me see. So, let me go back to it. I'll finish it out. So right in the
Launch confirmed. What have you done? Your war is here. Judgment is delivered.
Be still. Return.
Final targeting check.
General Korsakov, your hand hovers over a fire you cannot quench.
I know. Execute launch.
No. Breathe your last.
Your war ends with you. Go get my children from the land of the north. I hear you. I'll bring them home.
But yeah, man, I saw that this morning, and it made me laugh seeing IUIC come to the rescue. But yeah, I'll end it there. I pray this lesson was edifying to the Lord's elect. Hey, and Lord willing, until the next time I say shalom. Hold up. There we go.